Isabella Clarke had always treasured the calm of her art classroom in Bath. The soft light through the tall windows, the smell of fresh paint, and the quiet hum of focused students gave her a sense of peace she rarely found elsewhere. Yet, every March, a shadow crept over that peace. James, her husband, vanished for a whole month, retreating somewhere he refused to talk about. This year was no different. On the first morning of March, James kissed Isabella goodbye with a distant smile and left with a small suitcase. He said it was a work retreat, but his eyes held secrets. Isabella watched the door close behind him and felt a familiar hollow ache. She wondered if this time she would uncover what James truly did during these disappearances. Days passed with messages from James growing shorter and colder. The warmth they once shared felt like a fading memory. Isabella found herself painting less and worrying more. The silence in their home was louder than ever. One afternoon, while tidying James's study, Isabella noticed something she had never seen before, a plane ticket tucked inside a book. The destination was not a place James ever mentioned. Beside it, a folded letter caught her eye, its handwriting unmistakably his. Heart-pounding, Isabella unfolded the letter and began to read. The words spoke of regret, pain, and a promise to change. It was not just a work retreat, as James said. There was more beneath the surface, something that could change everything between them. Isabella felt a storm of emotions, confusion, fear, but also a faint hope. She had to know the truth. Her next steps would lead her into unknown territory, testing her love and courage. Isabella spent that evening staring at the letter, her mind racing through every word James had written. The regret was clear, but so was the fear hidden beneath the surface. The promise to change seemed sincere, yet the silence of the past year screamed louder than any written words. The next morning, she decided to quietly investigate. James had always been private about his work retreat, but Isabella's instincts told her there was more to the story. She looked through his study carefully, finding notebooks filled with scribbled names, dates, and unfamiliar places. Some pages were torn out, others hidden beneath piles of papers. Her heart pounded as she realized James's life had layers she had never seen before. Was he involved in something dangerous? Or was he running from something he could not face? Days later, Isabella booked a flight to the city on the ticket she had found. She told James she needed a short break to visit an art exhibit, knowing full well the trip held a different purpose. Bath felt empty without him, and the questions inside her burned brighter than ever. Upon arrival in the foreign city, Isabella was overwhelmed by unfamiliar streets and faces. She followed the clues from James's notes and letters, piecing together fragments of a life kept secret. She found herself at a small cafe where James had spent time, recognized by a few who seemed hesitant to talk. Isabella felt caught between fear and determination. Every step closer to the truth brought new dangers and difficult emotions. Yet, the love she held for James pushed her forward, even when her heart told her to turn back. Back home, the empty rooms whispered memories of better days. Isabella knew this journey was not just about uncovering secrets but about healing wounds they'd both carried. Isabella woke early, her thoughts restless. The foreign city around her felt both strange and strangely familiar, as if it held secrets waiting just beneath the surface. She clutched James's letter in her hand, reading it once more as she tried to steel herself for what lay ahead. Her first stop was the cafe she had discovered the day before. The owner, an elderly woman with wary eyes, greeted Isabella with cautious politeness. When Isabella mentioned James's name, the woman hesitated, then nodded slightly. "James, he comes here every March," she said softly. "But he does not talk much. Always alone. Carrying heavy burdens." Isabella's heart tightened. She asked if she could see where James usually sat, and the woman pointed to a small, shadowed corner. The table was scarred with years of use, a silent witness to countless secrets. Later that day, Isabella visited a small art gallery James had once frequented. The curator remembered James as a quiet man, deeply passionate about art, but distant. He showed Isabella a sketch James had left behind, a drawing of a shattered vase, delicate yet broken. "That piece," Isabella whispered. "It feels like him." Each new discovery was like a piece of a puzzle, but the picture remained incomplete. Isabella was beginning to understand that James's silence was not just about work or distance. It was about pain, pain he could not easily share. As dusk settled, Isabella found herself walking along the riverbank. The cold breeze whispered through the bare trees, mirroring the chill in her heart. She wondered what demons James fought alone, and whether she was strong enough to face them with him. The night brought little rest. Her dreams were filled with fragmented memories, moments of laughter with James, sudden shadows, and the distant echo of unspoken fears. When morning came, Isabella knew she was on the edge of something important, something that could change everything. Isabella's days in the foreign city became a blur of faces and half-truths. She met quietly with a few people who knew James, each encounter peeling back layers of a life she never fully understood. Some looked away when she asked questions, others spoke in hushed tones, revealing pieces of a story filled with regret and secrecy. One afternoon, a man approached her in a quiet park. He introduced himself as Mark, a former colleague of James. His eyes held sadness, but also a warning. "James has made mistakes," Mark said carefully. "But he is trying to make things right. There are things in his past that could destroy him if they come to light." Isabella listened, heart pounding, as Mark shared fragments of a mission James had been involved with, a mission that demanded secrecy and sacrifice. It was no ordinary work retreat, it was dangerous, risky, and full of moral conflicts. Isabella realized that the man she thought she knew was living two lives. The husband she loved was caught between loyalty and guilt, trapped in a world she never imagined. Back in Bath, her own world felt unstable. James's absence, the secrets she uncovered, and the fear for their future weighed heavily on her. Yet, amidst the shadows, a fragile hope flickered. If she could understand James's pain, maybe they could find a way to heal. That evening, Isabella wrote a letter to James. She didn't know if she would send it, but it helped her speak the words she had held inside. Words of love, confusion, and a desire for truth. As she sealed the envelope, a new resolve grew inside her. Whatever lay ahead, she was ready to face it, not alone, but together. Isabella's journey through the foreign city was no longer just about uncovering secrets. It was about understanding the man she loved and the choices he had made. Each step brought her closer to truths that threatened to shake the very foundation of their marriage. She met with an old friend of James, Olivia, a woman who seemed to know much more than she let on. Olivia spoke carefully, choosing her words like a diplomat. "James's work is not just a job," Olivia said softly. "It's a responsibility he carries with great weight. Sometimes it costs more than anyone realizes." Isabella felt the weight of those words. The man who disappeared every February was not simply avoiding her or hiding leisure time. He was trapped in a world of obligations and dangers that left little room for love or normal life. Yet, Isabella's heart struggled with doubt and pain. Could she forgive the secrets? Could she accept the risks? Could love alone be enough to hold them together? As the days passed, Isabella found herself at a quiet chapel, a place James had once visited. The stained glass windows cast colorful patterns on the stone floor, a gentle reminder of faith and hope. She sat in silence, thinking about the man behind the silence, the husband she wished to understand fully. The conflict inside her grew, between loyalty to James and the need to protect herself and their future. That night, Isabella's phone buzzed with a message. It was from James. "I need to talk. Please trust me." The simple words carried a world of meaning. Isabella's heart raced with anticipation and fear. The message from James hung heavily in Isabella's mind. She spent the morning torn between hope and anxiety, knowing that whatever awaited their conversation would change everything. She decided to meet him at a quiet cafe halfway between their respective hotels. When James arrived, his face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes held a familiar warmth. He sat down across from Isabella, his hands trembling slightly as he reached out to hold hers. "I'm sorry I kept you in the dark," he began, voice low and steady. "There are things I never wanted you to know, because I wanted to protect you." Isabella listened, the room around them fading as James revealed the truth. His work retreats were not ordinary business trips. They were missions to dismantle illegal networks that threatened national security. The secrecy was necessary, but it came at a cost: distance, lies, and constant danger. James spoke of the moral conflicts he faced, the choices between duty and family that left him broken inside. He admitted the loneliness that gnawed at him and the fear that his secrets might destroy the life he loved most. Isabella's heart ached with sympathy and confusion. She wanted to believe him, to support him, but the hurt from years of silence was not easy to erase. "Why didn't you trust me?" she asked quietly. "Because I was afraid," James admitted. "Afraid that if you knew, you'd leave. And I couldn't bear the thought of losing you." Tears welled in Isabella's eyes as she squeezed his hands. In that moment, she realized their love was a fragile thread stretched taut by secrets and sacrifices. The path ahead was uncertain, but she chose to walk it with him. Together, they made a silent vow, to face the dangers and the truths, no matter the cost. The days after their conversation were filled with fragile hope and lingering doubts. Isabella tried to rebuild the fragile trust that years of silence had worn away. She accompanied James as he prepared for the next mission, their moments together marked by quiet conversations and stolen glances. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered. Isabella struggled with her fears. Was she ready to face the dangers that came with James's secret life? And James wrestled with guilt, knowing that every mission risked not only his life but theirs as well. One evening, Isabella found a letter slipped under their hotel room door. It was unsigned but carried a chilling warning: some secrets are better left buried. Stop digging, or you will lose everything. The message shattered Isabella's fragile sense of safety. She realized their enemies were closer than she thought, and her search for truth had put them all in danger. As the deadline for James's departure neared, the couple faced their hardest choice yet. Could love survive in a world built on lies? And was Isabella ready to trust a man whose very life was shrouded in mystery? The night before James left, they sat together in silence, holding hands tightly. Neither spoke, but the unspoken words carried the weight of their future. Isabella closed her eyes, preparing herself for the uncertainty ahead. No matter what happened, she knew one thing for sure: her life would never be the same again. The early morning fog wrapped around the city as James prepared to leave. Isabella stood by the window, watching the mist swirl and fade with the rising sun. The weight of their unspoken fears pressed heavily upon her. James turned to her, his expression a mixture of determination and sorrow. "This is not just a mission," he said quietly. "It's a chance to fix what I broke. To protect you, to protect us." Isabella nodded, tears shining in her eyes. She had chosen to stand beside him, despite the risks, because love was no longer blind, it was brave. As James disappeared into the grey morning, Isabella felt both loss and hope. She knew the road ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, but she also knew that their bond, tested by secrets and shadows, could survive. In the days that followed, Isabella found strength she never knew she had. She reached out to allies James had trusted and began weaving a web of support around them. The fight was far from over. And somewhere beneath the surface of fear and doubt, a new truth was waiting to emerge, one that could change everything. Isabella's journey had only just begun.